So this is the inspiration for the project. This is the AngularJS tutorial, this PhoneCat tutorial, and it has a lot of good characteristics. It has step-by-step commits, so that's instruction to check out the first commit. It has some demos, and it gives you links to the Git diffs, so you can see exactly what changed. It has the normal tutorial stuff, like it has code snippets and a lot of explanations, but these things really help get through the project. This is the repo, and you can see all the steps. There's 14 steps or 15 steps in this tutorial, and everything is broken down pretty nicely. This is the second step. See the preview, the web page got a little bigger. You'll see some files were added, and you'll see some changes. The green is added and the red is subtracted. You'll see the step to check it out. I skipped ahead. This is what the demo looks like a little further in. And this is the code diff. Now I'm going to show you what I created. So I did something similar with one of my own projects. It was a chess project. You'll see I broke up the steps. There's about 23 steps, I think. They all start with step dash and then the step number. Then this is a README tutorial. The whole point of this project is to just convert an existing Git repository like that one, and break it down step by step into an easy tutorial. And the point that this is chess is not the point. The point is that you can convert these projects easily if you have a template, if someone else has done the work. And then at that point, we have a lot bigger tutorials available for users. So I have the checkout instructions over there. I have some notes for each step. I have some diff links. I have some overall steps. This is a demo of what the project actually does. There are classes for each piece on the chessboard. So like king, rook, queen. There's some utility classes for just movement logic. There's some exception classes for invalid moves. There's a board class, a game class, and a play chess class. Play chess has this game object, which has this start game loop object or method that lets you play the game. And this game class has a board class, which lets you make moves with that method right there. That's a high level of how this all works, and now I'll give you a demo of how I run it. So I ran it. There are 4 options: move, castle, print board, and quit. But to do them, you do M, C, P, or Q for shortcuts. I press P to print the board, and I'll try to make a move M. Enter in the initial and final positions with chess notation. So I'm doing E2 to E4 for the white pawn. I'm printing it out. And then next I'll do E7 to E5 for the black pawn. And that outputs. Next I'll do a knight move from G1 to F3. And that displays. And then finally I'll do B8 to C6. And yeah, it should be right there. This is the demo. You'll see that I added a bunch of tags to the repo so that I could check out each step using step dash number versus using the Git ID, which is long and complicated. I check out the step. I open it up in IntelliJ. See I created a bunch of piece classes that extend piece. You'll see knight extends piece right there. Yeah, and I have an abstract pawn piece. I have an abstract piece class. Go back to the repo, the tutorial, go step 0, and I look at the diff. I can see what was added and what changed. Pretty minimal at the moment. I can go back. I can read the notes to see what I did. I can look at the reset instructions. But I really want step 1 because I'm trying to add to step 0. So I go to diff. I see some things that changed in the classes, like there are some constants, constructors, and setters that were added. Now I tried to implement it, but I have this error and now it won't compile. So now I can check out step 1, go back, all the errors are gone, I can move on now. I'm going to go over the README. So there's a title and there's a table of contents, which lets you go to different sections. There's links for diffs. There's code blocks for reset instructions. And here's the raw version. You'll see you can make a header with a hashtag. You can make bullet points of a dash space. You can create section links by using a hashtag sign and referencing a different header. I see step 0. And then you can create links to other sources with a diff, like I do right there. I reference it at the bottom. I created this template that does pretty much the same thing but smaller and more reusable. So there are links outside. I can move to different sections. There are code blocks. Everything's in the right place. And it works really well. And that's the whole point of the project. It's to make it easier for other people to do this so we get more tutorials for bigger projects. Finally, here's a Markdown GitHub guide I created for this project. There's a whole cheat sheets linked here for just general Markdown. It's really helpful. But there are also more specific links like headers and links, which I use a lot. Just links to help people. The templates do a good job without all this information, but I found it useful. Tagging was a big deal in this project, making it so you could check out like something step 0 instead of the long hash was helpful. And there are tips on how to push that all up. And then adding commit messages is major. I messed up on my commit messages very often, had to rewrite them to have like a step 1, step 0, and just typos in general. And there's some other tips like review the completed project. By week 3, these were my challenges. The first one was planning out each step of the tutorial. Even though this was a relatively simple Java project, it was an Android, it wasn't anything bigger. There was a lot of complexity in the chess program that made it difficult to work with. There's a lot of dependencies within the code, and it made it difficult to break down the tutorial into steps. The second challenge was copying the old repository to a new repository. I wasn't exactly sure how to do this. I knew I would probably need 2 editors. I ended up using Visual Studio Code and IntelliJ. IntelliJ was very important to check for compile errors, since I didn't want to make any mistakes. Give a user a broken step in between. The third one was modifying the code. I had actually modified the original project. There was a 600-line class that was just way too big that I split into smaller utility classes, and this helped with readability, but it made the project more difficult to create since I was modifying some of the code. Formatting the readmes was difficult because I don't have a good readme editor, so most of the time when I made a change, I'd have to push it up to GitHub to make sure it looked correct. And the last challenge was giving the user feedback. This particular project, I showed you the end previously, but it's really hard to show the user exactly what's going on without adding a lot of extra code. And really, like the user really knows what's happening toward the end of the game when they can play it. There's a few steps in between that help, but most of the stuff is fine tuning improving.